Yeah.
sun up and sundown. It's not by a clock. So I think we have to think expansively about time, especially in the work that we do in terms of presenting and supporting artists from different cultures. The idea of time sometimes can be a bone of contention with the tech crew.
Wow. Okay.
Kostan, how are you there?
I am fine. I hope you're all fine.
I'm okay. Yeah, too busy with my radio shows. Thank God we got an answer about the festival. I was telling you before that at the end it will happen. Middle of September. So they gave me an act. It's a festival that they do different things: classical music, theater for children, parties, jazz, and whatever. Of course, with restrictions, because still we can invite people in Cyprus from certain countries.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hi, Kevin.
Hello.
Whoa,
Yeah. I can hear the voice of Kevin.
And we can see him.
Oh, good, good, good.
Yeah, looking good, Kevin. Thank you for joining us.
Sorry for the delay. I was pressing wrong buttons. I've been listening to everybody. I hope I wasn't the 3 minutes for colored folks time. I hope I didn't start that.
We were just talking about it. In Ghana, we call it GMT, Ghana Maybe Time.
Ah, okay. That works. Good to see everybody.
Good to see you, Kevin. Good to talk to you.
I'm proud to be here. I'm glad to be here.
We are too. We are too.
Good to Fantastic. We've got quite a few people already with us from India. We have somebody from Calcutta, from all over the world. People are still joining up. We're waiting for Bessa Simmons, the acting president of the Musicians Association of Ghana, to join us.
Maybe Ghana may be time, you know.
Ghana may be time. Maybe we can ask him what kind of musical time that would be. That would be a good question. What kind of musical time is Ghana Maybe Time? That would be one of our questions to him. Okay,
what does it sound like?
I didn't get that.
What does it sound like? Ghana musical time on the time scale. What does it sound like?
Yes, exactly.
Oh. Right now at this moment, or
I think it is 7-9.
All is good.
Or maybe something classical.
Ah.
Yeah. Okay. So I think we can start. Hopefully, Bessa Simmons will join us in a few minutes. Just let me send him a message one more time. Or Botti, would you do that, please? Could you send?
Okay, yeah.
Bessa Simmons a message, send him a notification. Maybe he's having technical problems.
Eric, I cannot hear you very well. I don't know your voice. Yeah.
Yeah. Again?
Not very well.
Not very well. Not very clear.
Not clear.
What about you? Can you hear me clearly?
All
the others, same problem.
All the others are perfect. Yeah.
Except for me. Uh-oh.
Like you are far away. You're really far away, but it's like this. It's not good to understand.
Okay. Hold on a second.
I guess one question before we start. Do you organize the festival in September?
They will do it at the end at last year.
Maybe it's a duo from Germany, the duo Spiegel and Sendik coming to you? Do you know it?
I don't know. I don't know. Not through me, because I gave five proposals for this festival,
Okay.
And they got the other one, but I don't know the other acts.
Okay. Because
do you-
I'm okay. Sorry. Yeah.
But let's be in touch after this conversation we're having,
Mhm.
because few things are happening, and so I can give you answers by tomorrow, because I have a meeting with them, with this festival, so I will know more names about that.
Okay.
What is
It's
going to happen.
no, I have this musician, they told me they are going to in September to Cyprus. So maybe I thought it's a CIS festival.
Okay, if you give me information, I will confirm it for sure if they are coming. If they are coming, I'll give you the information. Okay, because the
Is
one
this better?
was from Greece, and they're gonna take that one.
Ah, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, is this better?
Yes.
Yes.
Much
Yeah,
better?
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, it does sound better.
fantastic. Okay, Constant, how are we doing with the president of the Musicians Association? Any luck?
I'm still waiting. I sent a message and I'm waiting for
Okay.
yes.
Okay, well, for everyone who is with us already, welcome and congratulations. It's World Music Day. It's also Father's Day. So if you're a musical father, you get double props. And of course, the ladies, you know, we couldn't be fathers without you. It takes mothers to make a dad and a father. So thank you very much. And
Fathers in music and fathers with a family. Yeah. Yeah.
that's it. And we're going to be looking at some pretty interesting questions. We've got fantastic people. I've posted everyone's backgrounds, but just to run us through again, we've got Kevin, who is the head of our panel. Kevin Eubanks is, well, difficult to introduce you, but let's just say a musical genius, jazz guitarist, educator, film score composer, television
That's
star.
me. Okay.
Yes, that's you, television star, like all of the above. I mean, you can just tick all. You just name all the people, you know, he's worked with everybody. And hopefully, by the time we are through with this 90 minutes, I will all know how to be just as successful as Kevin, and perhaps, hopefully even more so, because Kevin says that he's got the juice and is willing to share it, because today's World Music Day, it's Father's Day, so hey, some goodies are coming. And we've also got Akis. Akis is a very experienced broadcast journalist working with the Cyprus Broadcasting Corporation. Fantastic. Monique, well, I think the Harlem stage needs no introduction, but I know that Monique has got much more extensive CV and resume than that. I'll be sharing that with you as we go on with our conversation. Bridget is responsible for managing music and musicians, joining us from Austria, Österreich.
Österreich, yeah.
Welcome, Bridget. And we've got Constant Botti, who is a virtuoso jazz guitarist, Afro flavor. Yes, personal friend of mine, creative director of Mevicon Services that have put this together in collaboration with Musiga, that's the Musicians Union of Ghana, and UNESCO, and the Ghana Culture Forum. And the Ghana Publishers Association is a member of the Ghana Cultural Forum, and they are the ones hosting us this evening, or morning or afternoon, depending which part of the planet you are joining us from. Somebody says it's 12:30 a.m., and that's some serious love for music. I'm an early bird, so by 12:30, Ghana maybe time, I'll be gone. All right. So that was my brief introduction, but I think that it's always nice to have people introduce themselves. So I think we'll go ladies first, and
I can't hear you.
We'll go ladies first. Can you hear me? Can you hear me, Bridget? Hello, can everyone hear me?
I can't hear you. I can't hear you. I don't know why.
Oh, Bridget. Uh-oh. Okay, so Bridget, hopefully you'll be able to sort your sound out. Okay. All right. So as I was saying, it's very nice to have creative people, intellectuals, and professionals introduce themselves, because everybody has such a broad CV. People do a great number of things. People are known for different things. People have done all kinds of amazing work. So I'm going to go with the Ghanaian tradition of introducing everyone or greeting everyone counterclockwise, starting from the top. And on my screen, in the top right-hand corner, I can see Brigitte. So Brigitte, welcome, and please introduce yourself to our co-panelists and to everyone that's joining us.
Thank you for the invitation. Thank you. I appreciate it. Yes, my name is Brigitte Fessmann. I'm living in Austria. I have agency. I'm dealing with artists from all over the world. And before, I was dealing with contemporary music and produced some CDs, and also produced album with two African people from Senegal and from Mali. And I stopped in 2013 with producing CDs. And since 2007, I work with artists and a booker, managing, touring, organizing. Yeah, I do a lot. Bring people together, bring different styles together, different musicians together. And I like appreciate a lot to work with musicians. And yeah, I often went to Africa. I love Africa. And I was touring with this artists in Africa and in Senegal and in Ivory Coast. And I have a big network with different musicians.
Yes, I can see Kevin is very interested because, you know, we're still waiting for him to tour Africa. I think I missed the last tour, but I hope he'll forgive me and invite me for the next one. And Kevin, we're going to save you for last because that's what we do. And next up is Akis. Akis, how would you introduce yourself?
Hi to everybody. First of all, very happy to be with you to this excellent panel. I'm a radio producer, editor. I was a professional piano player, and from the 80s, I tried to spread jazz and spread the art form. We call it jazz. Now, let's forget the piano playing here and there so many years. I will focus the last years on my jazz programs. That is the only jazz program we're having in Cyprus. I'm at the national radio, and I play 10 to 12 in the morning, and I try to give a variation of what is happening in jazz from the old times with a lot of details, stories, explaining different musicians, what is vocal jazz, what are the categories of jazz, the new things, the young lions, like Kevin was at the 50s. We had a big team of the young lions, we call them. And the last few years, I'm involved with the festivals. I do some productions, 1 or 2 a year, because we don't have many as a small country we are. But my dedication in my life is how to spread and have more people loving jazz.
Fantastic. Okay, well, Monique, it's lovely to have you join us. The Harlem stage hardly needs an introduction in the world of music and entertainment, but it will still be very nice to have you tell us about yourself, just a little bit.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for having me. I'm sure like many of you, on a gazillion Zoom calls during this 14 weeks of a quarantine and working distantly. But this is my first Zoom call that has such an international scope. So I'm really excited to be in conversation with all of you around a topic that is so near and dear to my heart, and that is music. At Harlem Stage, we support, we incubate, we commission artists to create new work. That's the DNA of the institution that has been in doing this for over 30 years. I've been with the institution only 3 years. And prior to that, I was with Summer Stage, which is an international festival that takes place every summer in Central Park and in parks in all 5 boroughs of New York City. And in my role there as a programming director, I brought a lot of artists from across the globe and facilitated cross-cultural residencies and exchanges. And that's where I'm looking to lift and amplify the work that I do now, is how can we map rhythms as they travel because of migration, transatlantic slave trade, all of that, and bring some modernity to the field that we're in now. So I'm happy to be here.
Oh, fantastic. Kevin, do you need an introduction? I don't think so. Let's go to Constant.
Anyway, thank you so much for everyone for this opportunity. And I'm really grateful to KEVIN EUBANKS for really, it's like, despite his a very, very busy schedule, like everyone else on the panel, Kevin, you know, it is so amazing to have him here. And now to introduce myself, I am a, you know, first of all, Mevicon Services is a concierge company, and we do a normal, like regular concierge activities. But on top of that, we are very much interested in organizing music festivals, music programs, and so on. And we have been very active on the musical side since 2014, you know. And I am the creative director, and also I'm a musician. I play guitar, and I spend my time sometimes teaching, and I'm very much interested in cultural exchange. You know, it's like I'm very much open, meeting people from different culture and learning from them, and also sharing with them what I know. And I released my first album titled Guru Guru, which was my interpretation of my feelings of our African folk sounds, which I played with some jazz ideas. And now, since last year, I'm working on my second album, which is dedicated to Kofi Annan, and that's me.
Yes. I'll definitely come to that, because that's a really interesting project, the Kofi Annan project. And Kevin, well, we've come full circle, and so the ball is in your court. I really was struggling, you know, to find a way to introduce you, and I'm really happy that, you know, I came up with this idea of having you introduce yourself.
Well, first of all, it's quite an honor and a pleasure to be here, and I can just feel from the way people are talking about themselves, which is always a weird thing to do, I guess, for me anyway. But I can feel the dedication that everybody has in what they do, and the things that everyone does touches the next person as well. It's kind of like a domino effect. If people are inspired to do something, you come in contact with other inspirational people, and that gives you more energy to have confidence to keep doing what it is that you do. I don't think musicians, motion, movement, dance, all these things, everybody has to connect with everyone else and understand the dedication and what their people's lives are in their career. It brings everybody together in one thing. So it's really an honor to be with everybody. And Constant Bhatti is, we've been speaking for a while now, and I asked him to send me music from West Africa so I can kind of just get the flavor of things in me, at least musically, and the dance that comes through and that accompanies the music, the emotion of it, the feeling that you get of it. So in a sense, if I want to introduce myself, I'm a student of creativity. And I like to understand what other people feel when they're doing things too, because all of it comes from the same stream that we create. It grows it touches and it encompasses the entire world. Everywhere you go, there's music, but you can't get there unless there are people that believe in the same thing you do, and people are good at what they do. They're talented at what they do, and all comes together. So whatever brought me to this conference is a long road, which we all probably share. So whatever I was doing in the past, I'm glad that it brought me to where I am now. So I'm really honored to be here. And I'm here to learn a lot of things as well. If there's anything that I can contribute to things, I'm happy to do so.
Well, that's the second time you mentioned learning. And I don't know why, when you said it the first time, I was thinking, well, someone as accomplished as yourself, Kevin, to hear you say that you are still learning, it's almost like, you know, echoes Michelangelo, because he said that at 80 something, he said, I'm still learning. And Hannibal said, you know, we'll find a way to make one. So let's see if we can do both. We can find a way to make one. We've got an amazing set of panelists, fantastic resource people, experts. We've got international radio, and that's AKIS. We've got European bookings and music management for African artists. That's Brigitte. We've got the world famous Harlem Stage Program Director, who's also done a lot of teaching as an academic, as an educator. Monique is here with us. We've got breakout African artist, I mean, real breakthrough in the person of Constant Botti, who's got a fantastic a new project, which is a tribute to Kofi Annan that features lots of incredible people. His debut album, Guru Guru, is something out of this world, got rave reviews. And leading our panel, we've got KEVIN EUBANKS. And if you appreciate how humble KEVIN EUBANKS is on this, at this meeting, then it's something that you just have to be thankful for. I've posted a resume or a link to Kevin's bio, so if you're interested in it, you can do it. But suffice to say that Kevin's done it all. Television, music, film, academia, the works. The money, absolutely. Interviewed by Forbes, no less. Debut album, album debuted top 5 in the on the Billboard charts, unless I'm mistaken. In the top 5. That's incredible.
Styles as well.
Yep, 20 years.
Different styles as well.
Different styles as well. 20 years on television, Jay Leno show, The Tonight Show with Jay Leno. 20 years, no less. And not just as a musician, as Jay Leno's partner, you know, on-screen talent. That's amazing. Kevin, we're living in really unusual times. And I know that music went through, you know, some upheavals in the beginning of the millennium. The digital age came in, but now this is something unprecedented. I don't think many performers or producers or managers or musicians, composers saw this coming. And my first question to you is, did you in any way see this coming, and were you prepared?
Well, certainly some of it was expected. And I don't mean the pandemic. Did not see that coming. Other people saw it before, though. There were other people that were in the administration in the United States that saw it coming. There were people that did see the possibility of this happen. It was ignored in a lot of ways. The part that I did see was that that musicians, artists, creative people, I got to love the musicians that I look up to, the music, the people that helped them, all the things that happened in the 60s in the United States. And music, artists, creative people were part of advancing the things that happened in the 60s that brought a lot of rights to people, made people feel that they could actually change things for the better in the country. And in a sense, the things that I did see coming was that musicians should have some type of collective voice in what happens in the country. And we were inspired to become musicians by the musicians from the 50s and 60s that inspired us to become musicians in the first place. A lot of that, in a bigger sense, I don't feel that that's happening. And that's the one thing that I saw coming, that we're not in a position to help move things along. And I don't feel that good about it, because we have so much talent, which is talent all over the world. I'm not specifying talent just in America. But since growing up there and living there, I have a good insight on what's musically going on, particularly in jazz and in television. That as a collective, we should learn during this period right now, that, because I hear a lot of, having conferences with musicians in America, and one of the phrases that says, we can't wait for things to get back to normal. And I don't want things to get back to normal. And I thought that at some point we would have to deal with this because of what's going on in America. I'm not trying to get political about anything, but at some point you cannot take things apart from that. Part of what's happening, the things that musicians have to deal with now, part of it is political. Even if you don't want to pick a side, even if you think you're going to lose fans, you're going to lose, recordings, so you're going to mess with your career by doing it. But at some point, there are things that you just can't ignore by not choosing a side, even if it's not a political side, but a side as an artist. How am I contributing? And does it mean you're an artist just because you play an instrument? There are people that do, wonderfully, show signs of artistry because they dedicate what it is that they're doing. And if something is detrimental to what they're doing as a living, their passion of wanting to help, wanting to do things to make things move further, to me, is one of the prerequisites for being an artist. Because you're good at your instrument, because you're good at your profession, does not necessarily mean you're an artist. And we have amazing talent. I mean, the musicians that I hear, everybody sounds really great. I mean, the level is really high. But what we seem to have missed is that the people that inspired us, that helped us, from John Coltrane about churches being burned, Neil Young, when Kent State, the National Guard, shot students that were killed, students that were at this university. We hear music from Jimi Hendrix, Don't Go to Vietnam. These things are in the past. Maybe a lot of people don't remember that. But those are the things when I was growing up, that edge, that fire, that passion that they had, that's part of what inspired me as well. So you don't just inspire that I just want to play guitar, but there was something within that made you want to, I don't know, it's hard to express it in words, because there's a force, there's an energy that makes you come alive, that makes you a part of what's going on, that, your mother and father have to deal with it. You have to grow into this world. And just playing a song and being great at playing a song does not necessarily make you an artist. You have to embrace the things that you're dealing with in life. And that has to be a part of what comes out. And your expression, your music will have that too. It will have a gift within it. So that part I saw coming, that we, as musicians, as a group, as a, and not just musicians, the artist community, that I could see that if something not like this, of course I didn't see the pandemic coming or anything like that, but I felt the business was directing the musicians, and the musicians were not saying that we want to direct everything, but musicians don't have an infrastructure that is connected with the other artists, the other beautiful things, the other creativity things, with dance, with different types of music, with genres of different types of music, with poets, with everything. It all comes from the same thing. So now that we have all this quote unquote time on our hands, while everything's going nuts in America, and um, and people want to say, "Oh, we can't wait things to go back to normal." I never felt that was really normal, and that we should try to come up with a different mindset. So if this resolves in some kind of way, that it's moving forward, not going back to what's normal, but going further in the future and create a new normal that we can contribute to. So I think we have a lot to do, but a lot of it starts from inside. So we're kind of like in a nebulous zone. I mean, you know, obviously what's going on, people have to understand what's going on in the history of the country, and it has affected music. So I don't think you can separate what's going on in the country and the music that is being written now while people are not performing so much. But I think it's an opportunity to really go into yourself and say, what do you really think? How can your music be the same as it was when things are at the point that they are? So what I do think is going to happen is going to be a beautiful blossoming of creativity and new ideas that are going to come because of this, because that we're so quarantined, which I never liked that word, but you get time to go inside because we can't go out, so we go in. And I think there's going to be wonderful music, wonderful creative things. I keep saying music, but I'm not trying to separate musicians from any of the other creative, you know, aspects of what we do as a collective. So I think a lot of beautiful things are going to come out of this, and not just the sounds of it or the look of it, but the understanding that musicians have has to advance, because we are not just musicians, we're intelligent people. I'm not just a guitar player. She's not just a dancer. It's somebody that holds a lot of intellect, that seen a lot, that has seen a lot. And we're not just performers, we're not just entertainers. And we have to remember that ourselves too. We're not just entertainers. We have something to offer that's intellectual, that is on. We've traveled a lot. We've met a lot of people. I'm in the company of people that I can learn so much from. You go back with something more. So we get looked at. We sometimes treat ourselves as entertainers, as musicians, as artists, as dancers, but we're more than that. And I think that part we have to develop, and that has to be part of what we do, what we show, how we believe in ourselves, and how we move forward.
I hear you addressing trust, and I hear you addressing new collaborations, you know, reaching across genres. Is that what you are doing in this time? Is that what you have been doing, Kevin?
During the time that we're not performing, is that time or?
Exactly, yes. Now, in this period, in these past 3 or nearly 4 months now.
The part that has happened, and Constant Bhati is part of it for me, that I'm not a person that is very ambitious or aggressive about getting from point A to point B. I would, in some ways, I wish I was that person, because I have lots of friends that are great musicians, great artists, painters, and they say, well, if I do this and I do that, I'm going to come out on this side and everything's going to be good. And they network and they meet people. They go here, they go to industry events, and they come out with, you know, with contacts and all that. And every time I've tried to be that person, nothing has ever happened. It's just not my personality to do that. So I wish it was that simple for me. I know people that do it. You know, I'm going to go to this event. I'm going to go to that event. I'm going to go to this meeting. I'm going to do this. And before you know it, they're someplace else, and they did what they set out to do. And so every time I've tried that, it was disaster, because it's just not in my personality to do it. So what I'm doing right now, I'm not aggressively or ambitiously trying to network or do anything, because I want to check myself first. And right now I have a terrible time practicing. I have a terrible time writing music. I'm trying to do things to keep things flowing inside of me, because I can't watch what's happening on the streets in America and just come home and start practicing scales and new harmony and things like that. There's something that's bothering me that I can't focus right now, because there's too much going on. There's too much at stake. There's too much of the same things over and over again. And it's hard to just put that aside and say, I need to play more guitar. I need to practice. I need to practice piano. I need to, you know, so right now I'm in a state of ambiguity, because I just don't know what to put my hands on. So I just am in a state of listening and watching and keeping my own mind quiet, because right now it's a bit of confusion. So I listened to a lot of music that Batis sent me, and think I will start to try and write some music that goes with the dance, that goes with some of the music that he sent me. And I've been listening to it. I've been listening to different conversations with people. That's why I was excited to come here, because somehow I'm in a company of people that I don't know, but I didn't try to get here because, oh, I want to get this point and go to that point, and then I will do something, you know, more ambitious. But that's not how it happens. I just follow what my personality can stand, can stomach. I can feel that I'm moving in the right directions, but in a creative way. And sometimes that works out so where it's you can monetize it, but that if that is the ambition, then there's other ways of doing that. There's, you know, that's not the same thing. So at the moment, all I'm doing is listening and wondering how I can help. And helping is not as easy as it sounds. So I'm just trying to, I don't know how to quite express it, but I'm sure I'll get back to practicing, writing, performing, but I want it to be at a different level, but I want it to get there in a natural, organic kind of way. I don't want to miss anything because my ambition or my ego is in the way of doing it. So right now, I'm not even practicing that much, and it hurts not to practice because I'm used to that my whole life. So not doing it is strange, but I can watch other people and what they're doing, and hopefully as a collective consciousness, we will all start to kind of like a wave move in the same direction, that we have to have some organization, some infrastructure that helps ourselves. And by doing that, we can offer our help to move things in the right direction in the different communities in America that need it.
Okay, I have just one more question for you, Kevin, before I'll move to Monique, because from the performer, we need to go to the performing stage, and maybe then Brigitte can weigh in with some advice about managing this, and Akis can give us a radio producer's perspective. But when you say that you've been doing a lot of listening, and you mentioned Constant Bossy, what is it that you're trying to listen out for? What are you looking for when you listen to music from Africa, from the African diaspora in Asia and Europe and all over the world, on the continent? Can you put your finger on it? Considering your amazing history, you've played with everybody that anybody would want to play with. You've performed, you've written, you've composed. So what are you looking for at this point in your career, this moment in your life, now that you have some time?
Well, it's not so much as looking for it, but being open for it to touch me. So I just want to stay open. And, you know, people say, oh, we're just going to throw something on the wall and see what sticks. So I want to invite things to come to me and see what sticks to me. What, you know, like if I hear something, or if somebody comes up with an idea, or I hear some music, and I hear the consistency in that music, and I can't forget about it. I go, wow, I want to feel that more. I want to, you know, and said, well, you know, there's dance that goes with it. So let's just look at the dance part of it. Let's just follow where it leads. But if something touches me, I'm not so much as looking at it. I'm trying to get out of my own way and be open to different things, because it just keeps going. There's nature just keeps evolving. It keeps going. And you know, want to get out of the headspace that I'm somehow different from the world that I'm living in. And there's always more. Everything evolves into the next thing. It grows into the next thing. So I just want to grow into what hits me, that makes me feel something. And so when I started listening to this music and West African music, and which I know very little about, you know, and so I'm just staying open to what touches me. And it seems like there's quite a bit there that I need to immerse myself in and to be open to. And I'll just follow, I don't know, just kind of follow the light of the music, kind of to where it goes. And at the same time, keep my personality where it is. And I'm sure that I have confidence that it will enrich more of it'll just be an enrichment period, along with all the other things that I'm opening up to that are happening here as well. But it's nice to have something coming from somewhere else, because then it gives you a different way of looking at it, because now, you know, you're joining that with this. So I'm just going for the ride, basically, and hopefully I'm up to it.
Monique, are you still with us?
Yes, I am, for sure,
It looks like
definitely.
you've gone off into a dream wonderland of, you know, what music is going to be when this pandemic ends.
I'm encouraged and I'm excited, in spite of the gravity of what I like to call concurrent pandemics. We have the pandemic of COVID-19, and we have the pandemic of racism and bigotry that we've been dealing with in this country for 400 years. And one of the things that I wanted to just kind of thread a little bit what Kevin shared about how music has played a part, an integral part in social movements. So we see that with South Africa and the anti-apartheid movement, there's a soundtrack that goes with that music. The Toy Toy, there's music from the civil rights movement. And specifically with the civil rights movement, as I was listening to Kevin, I thought about a lot of the movements were led by ministers. And so you had a gospel soundtrack. And now we have the Black community, specifically in this country, Black and Brown community, are represented by many religions, Islam, Christianity, Buddhism, et cetera, et cetera. So you don't have a dominant leader or leadership that has a soundtrack attached to it. So I'm also very curious to create space for artists to collaborate and to come together to create new work. What we do at Summer Stage is commission and incubate. So when you talk about, Kevin, collaborating with a dancer, that's what we do. So if you want to collaborate with a dancer or an artist in another country, then what we do is find the funds to make that happen. So I just want to give a very big plug to Harlem Stage. And the reason why I left a big festival, because in a festival, as I'm sure you know as well, Brigitte, is you don't have the resources to really commission artists. It's in a festival setting, you're booking artists that are on tour, that have work that's basically baked, marinated, and ready to go. in a performing arts setting, you can bring ideas together and artists together to advance their dreams and their projects. So I'm excited about that. What is the sound that will come out of 2020 with everything that all the information and all the challenges and all the opportunities. We also see with the shuttering of institutions like my own and larger institutions, Carnegie Hall, Lincoln Center, and institutions across the world, we're not gathering together. So now artists are bringing their music, bypassing the label or the institution or the festival, and bringing their music directly to the people. So what is that going to mean post quarantine in terms of how we deploy music and get it in the hands? We know, of course, all the platforms of Spotify, et cetera, but there feels like there's a shift that is exciting, and it also is, I sometimes feel as though, because we're shifting to digital as well, of course, that I'm moving through the forest without a flashlight. But I'm trusting that our audience is riding with us, and our artists have the resources they need to stay inspired and to continue to move forward. And the last thing I'll say that I hope we can talk about at some point in this conversation is the term world music, which I feel is problematic, especially as it's used in United States, because many audiences and many producers and presenters, it's like a catch-all word that I feel we've grown out of, because now we are intelligent enough to know what is Mpanga music from South Africa, what is the music from Congo, what is the music from Ghana. There's 54 countries. It's a shame to call it one thing. And we also have the opportunity to map, as an example, the Congo. Cuba had the largest enslaved Africans from the Congo. So what does that mean sonically? There's a reason why the music of the Congo and the music of Cuba has synergy. So that's the conversation that I'm looking forward to having.
And I'm glad you mentioned what is called world music, because some of the work that you've done sounds like a world of magic to most people everywhere in the world. And I'm talking about Broadway and off-Broadway shows that you've produced, the Harlem Stage, you're director of programming, Disney theatricals, the Apollo Theater, UK Hip Hop Festival, and the list just goes on and on and on and on. So how does someone from somewhere in the world that thinks that they have something to offer musically find their way to a producer such as yourself and to venues such as these that you work for and that you've produced shows at?
I've worked a lot with consulates to bring international artists. We know the challenges of visas, and we know what it takes to, at least in the States, it's a huge lift, particularly after 9/11, and also with this current administration that we have. It is very difficult to bring artists from abroad, and it's becoming increasingly more difficult. So what I would suggest is, say you want to have a project with Constant, then you would contact him, he can contact me, you have an artist that you want to collaborate with. And that's where I'm orienting my work now, is where can we foster and create a space for cross-cultural exchange. So if you think about, as an example, this is a project I've been wanting to do, so maybe some artists will pick it up, is to map the banjo from the kora. How did the banjo become the banjo in the Mississippi Delta? Where did that come from? That came from Central Africa. So those are the kind of projects that I'm looking to collaborate with my colleagues around the world, and also my colleagues here in New York City.
And are you still thinking of doing this as was the old normal on physical stages? Or are you looking more to the digital space, to virtual concerts, to online streaming and things of that sort?
I would say both. Right now, we still don't know when we'll be able to gather, and people obviously are anxious. So we are not doing any gatherings in 2020. Even Live Nation is saying that they're not doing anything in 21. And if they do something, I think earlier this week, I don't know if anyone saw an article that they now will put the responsibility on the musicians. If you contract COVID-19, it's on you. There's no liability. So there's just a lot to wrestle with. And we are taking our time. The last thing we want to do is to gather early and to put our audience and our artists at risk. So we're looking at outdoor programming. And we, of course, are doing digital and trying to understand not every musician has the technical capacity to really do a digital program that requires the right microphone or the right mixing. I'm not a technician, but that's some of the feedback that I've received from artists is they need support to present their artistry on a level sound wise. That's a big piece for musicians. So that we're working on that as well. So it's all kind of unknown, and we're also consulting with technicians to help us understand if people are in multiple places, what does that mean for the blend? Is that an experience that audiences will enjoy for now? You know, can they do that for a year? Can they do that for 6 months? So those are questions that we're wrestling with.
Fantastic. Akis.
Hi.
Now, radio is a space that ruled the hearts of all music lovers for quite a while. And then digital came along and things changed. And now, after a while, people started turning much more back towards live performances. Live performances have always been at a premium, but then suddenly, after a bit of digital, everyone really wanted to appreciate a live performance. And now, for the past 3 months, that's no longer possible. So concerts, venues, events have all been pushed back. Is this a space for radio? What's your take on this?
I believe always it's going to be a space for radio. Forget the digital things and whatever. I always believe that the radio programs, the producer to be well informed of what he's telling about the songs and to analyze and criticize and whatever information is going to give to the people. Always is going to be a vehicle, especially for this kind of art form.
You must have a pretty international audience in Cyprus.
I think from my information and from what message I get, because there are not a lot of radio programs specializing in jazz are around. Like in my country, there's only one radio show, that's mine.
What do you look for when you're deciding on who to feature, who to present?
What I do to my radio show, first of all, I give them a lot of information from the beginning, and then continue to what we listened before about the Congo, the Cuba music, and from Kevin as well. I give them information about New Orleans. When they created the music, it was a reason. And after the changes coming to bebop, cool jazz, hard bop, fusion, modern, whatever, it was a reason to do that productions. It was a reason for to feel free or to say something or to inspire or whatever. And I'm taking the last words of Kevin, who says, I hope to have inspiration to do something new, because what I see the last years, I don't see inspiration. I see a lot of technical things, a lot of people well educated, excellent performance, what they do, but I don't feel a reason, inspiration, or something new, or a proposal, or compositions that they have to say something. So one of my roles there in the radio is to give all this kind of information. Second is to give also a voice to all the new talents. All the people are producing CDs, because we have another problem. We have a lot of people that they are producing CDs. They do excellent CDs, and nobody can discover them. Who is going to play all these kind of CDs? And I've seen in my hands a lot of brilliant CDs for brilliant musicians. They could be somewhere in the market, but nobody will know them, nobody will find them. I don't know. And I believe also that, and I hope from what Kevin says, that this time, with the COVID and with the races, the problems we are facing, the new compositions we are going to have, they must have a reason or a voice to say what they want to say. Also, what I believe, and then coming to Monique, we have a lot of immigrants now. The immigrants waves, they are coming to Europe. So all these people, and I remember the Congo people went to Cuba. All the other nationalities, they were in New Orleans, etc. How they created something. I believe that all the immigrants, they are coming now to Europe. In some time, they're gonna bring some of their music, and the new creation is gonna be soon, in the next few years.
Well, that's a nice note. Bridget, you are right there between the musicians and their music and the venues and their productions. You manage music, you manage musicians. The topic of our show is African Talent Rising. And we want to be able to help both old, established, and newly up and coming musicians find a way to success in this pandemic and post-pandemic period. What would your advice be?
Yeah, I was in Senegal end of January, and to talk with musicians, with organizer festivals, and also with the museum, and we want to create something new with artists and some ideas. So I came back from Senegal end of January, and yeah, and now I'm here, and now we think about how we can do it, how we can fulfill, and how we can make it happen. In a way now, it's very difficult. It's very difficult for every artist now to bring the artist from Africa to Europe, because I cannot organize a tour, and nobody wants to say something and say, okay, we organize it. Everybody is very few and says, sorry, we cannot make a contract with you. If you like, okay, but it's your own risk. So in the moment, it's very hard. It's definitely hard.
And that brings us back to you, Kevin. You said that in this period, artists can explore new collaborations. This is a time to sort of get your creative juices flowing, or maybe sit back and relax and listen like you're doing. Give yourself some rest, give yourself some perspective. And coming to perspective, one of our very first questions was about the beginning of your career. And I think it pointed to your work on The Tonight Show with Jay Leno. How did that come about? Was it chance, or was it focused choice, something that you really, really, really worked for?
I had not even a thought of being on television. It never crossed my mind. All I wanted to do, I grew up in a musical family, you know, and all I wanted to do was play guitar better tomorrow than I did today.
20 years though.
Well, I was on television that long. Prior to that, I'd worked with, I was on tour for 15 years, playing with artists and making solo records, playing with other people, touring with different groups from Art Blakey, Sam Rivers, Dave Holland, Roy Haynes, lots of wonderful, amazing jazz artists that fed the whole history of jazz, you know. And so I was fortunate enough to be able to move to New York. I went to school to learn harmony and things like that. And I just wanted to get better at that. And I had no ambition for television. I liked watching television. I love watching movies from all over the world. There's so many gifted people in different areas. And the fact that I was really good friends with wonderful musicians, and a good friend of mine named Branford Marcellus, we went to school together, and just because we wanted to play music, we played on each other's records, and that's what brought me to the Tonight Show. Was
hard work,
but it definitely hard work,
and a lot of heart.
And you have to develop your talent, and at the same time you have to develop yourself as a person, which comes first, because I really resonate that you can have a technical understanding about something but not have an emotional understanding about what to do with that, and that you have to be connected with where you are, how you're living. You know, you're not separated from anything, and technology has a way of separating itself from what people actually need. You can get what you want, but the difference between getting what you want and getting what you need can be so far apart. And technology makes you want things, and the genius of marketing can make everybody want a brand new red car, but you may not need one. But that same thing can happen with everything. You can wind up getting a lot of things you want and not having the things you need. So we can have a lot of technique. We know all the harmony, we know the chord changes, we know the scales, we know this and that, and blah, blah. And then when you do it, and then and nobody feels anything, you know.
You need a lot of heart for that.
Right. And which at a certain point took me right back to Buddy Guy and a lot of the blues cats, which came after. I mean, you get so full of technology that it's like, where am I? You know, I'm lost in these things.
Hold that thought, Kevin. Please hold that thought. You know, the blues and where am I? That's just what I want to ask Constant Botti. You're sitting there like all quiet, and you're surrounded.
I'm listening.
You're surrounded by, you know, like a halo of blessings. You've got Kevin Eubanks, and who wouldn't give everything to have Kevin Eubanks, you know, even consider a collaboration or playing something together. You've got Monique, and, you know, everybody would love to be produced and put on, you know, the Harlem stage, the Apollo Theater. You've got, you know, Brigitte, you know, she can book a European tour for you. And you've got Akis, you know, and he can put you on world radio. So this is like everything a musician in Africa or anywhere else in the world would want. And here we are in this period, unprecedented pandemic, performances shut down. You've got a breakthrough project. What are you thinking? What's going on in your mind as, you know, you listen to Kevin, you listen to Monique, you listen to Akis, you listen to Brigitte, and you're thinking about yourself, as a musician, your work, your music, your project? What's happening to the Kofi Annan tribute project?
Yeah. Anyway, first of all, when I'm listening to Kevin and everyone, there is something that I developed a long year ago when I was a child. Most of my friends were elders. So I developed a strong taste for listening. So most of the things that I do in life today are some of the informations that I had within me from the elders, and I put them into practice step by step. Now talking about, Kevin mentioned something that really resonates to me. It's like he's not running after projects, and he's really trying to see what he needs more than what he wants. So this is something that I've taken right now, and it is making me thinking a lot. And you said that I was quiet, but anyway, about my projects, the idea with Kofi Annan project, I think many people thought that it is something to make me be out there for people to see me and so on. I think my dad and my brothers, they already see me, and that's very much important to me. So the thing about Kofi Annan, it is just somebody I knew very personally, and he has influenced me. It's like from the connection, the exchange with him, I got to see life in a different perspective. And we were talking about me releasing an album that he will like, because he was liking some of my compositions. And I said that in my next album, there will be songs that he likes already. So when I was in New York and I heard that he passed away, that really touched me. And I told myself that let me just make sure I release the album. But now we are with this pandemic and everything slow down and so on. So I'm really using this time to go inside, because now we can't go much outside, and this here is a chance for me to go inside, and this is what I've been doing.
I have a question, if you don't mind.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Sorry, I have a question. I'm taking this opportunity, having everybody experts of their fields and whatever, and I'm sure a lot of new musicians, I think they are watching what we are talking about. Kevin and Monique as well. What is your advice about musicians? They are planning to release their first CD. What kind of material do you advise them to have? All originals or any covers?
Anybody want to?
That's an interesting. That's an interesting question.
Question.
Well, are you? This is specific to jazz musicians, because most other genres you don't have so many covers.
Yeah.
Jazz is kind of notorious, I would say, about covers. People do whole albums of covers. I prefer new music, and if you're going to do a cover, it should be exceptional.
Sure.
Because we've heard At Last a million times, and so if you're going to cover it, you know, put another spin on it. And I did want to ask a question. I hope this is a good space to expand on your question, Ekis, and that is the role of radio versus podcast. If we could kind of talk about that, because it seems like with the explosion of podcasts, you can have more content there, and radio in other countries isn't as commercialized as it is in the States. So I wanted to just ask that question as well.
And I want to toss in another one for you, Kevin. If you had, or if you might be thinking of doing a cover of anything, I mean, just by genre, composer, musician.
He did it.
No, now. what would that be, or who would that be?
Well, that's a deeper question than it sounds like, because I would not choose a song because it's a cover song. To me, and it depends on where you think it will fit into where you are in your career. If you think that helps you, if that is okay with your personality to do that, if you can support that and feel good about it, then you should do that. The way that you get from, you know, where you are to getting, I don't know, to getting closer to your own music, so when people hear it, they feel something from you. It's not just in the cover song. It's not just how well you play, but how do they feel when they're listening to it? It's probably more important. So cover songs in jazz, as me really pointed out, that we have so many cover songs that I think in a way it keeps jazz from moving forward, because we're always going backwards in a sense, not totally backwards, but we're always referring to something that's in the past. And one of the fortunate things that is happening in jazz now is women are starting to surface more and more, as it used to be anyway. And it just brings another emotional aspect to jazz music. So if younger musicians female musicians start to come up and they put jazz on, they listen to radio, they hear jazz. And as long as we're going backwards to see what it is that we're doing, then they don't get to hear compositions written by females. They don't get to hear bands that are primarily female. So that stunts the growth of embracing this new emotional energy that can come in. So it seems like we're to have such an open music, mindset that jazz at least used to be. Not quite sure that's where it is at the moment, because we keep referring to the people that inspired us, perhaps to the point where we can't get out of their shadow. And then on top of that, you put cover songs on it that takes you back to this decade, to that decade, to that decade. And part of that just keeps everything supposedly moving forward, but it's just doesn't really move forward. And then that isolates other people from coming into it and bringing it into a new aspect. And a part of that is that we are not invested in the future of what it is that we're doing. We think that we can just play some music and then Akis, is that how you pronounce your name? I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing it. Akis? I'm sorry.
Yeah, Akis.
Yeah. We have to put it on him and we have to put it on Bridget. So, oh, you can get us on this gig. You can get us on that. And he can play it on the radio. But we don't bring anything to it. We don't have an infrastructure to push our own cause. Why should we have to play songs from 30 years ago, 40 years ago, 50 years ago in order to get someone's attention? The heart in the music. I mean, we took in a lot of instances, we took vocals out of jazz. We've taken dance out of jazz. We've taken the beat out of jazz, and we want everybody to listen to what we're doing. And if you ask the average person, just go to any store, say, what do you listen to when you hear a song? What just literally say what it is that you hear. And I've done this. I've just said, just strangers in a park, strangers if I'm in a subway in New York. But so when what do you listen to? Excuse me, I don't mean to bother you. And they say, oh, I'm listening to this song. I said, what do you hear in this song? What's the first thing if you had to describe it? The lyrics and the beat. That's the number one thing. We don't have a beat and we don't have lyrics. And you can't dance because if you're playing jazz and you dance, then somehow you're a sellout. We put ourselves in a box, and we have some of the most fantastic musicians I've run into and you like keep them on, you know, keep them in this box, because now you can't do this. You can't do TV because you're selling out. You can't get the people in the room to dance because then you're selling out. You can't do this and that. Why are we holding all of this back? I don't understand that. So cover tunes is a way to me, it's like a band-aid. It's like some kind of security thing that, okay, somebody will know this song, so they'll like the way I do it, and then maybe I'll move forward in my career. At least I'll get some, you know, people to know who I am. That's okay for a minute, but if you really love this song, then I think all bets are off. You should do it. But if it's something that you're trying to do to get from point A to point B, I think you're reaching in the wrong basket, because you're going one step forward and two steps back. But if you love this song, My One and Only Love is one of my favorite ballads. I love this song.
Yeah.
You know, it's a beautiful song. And for me, so I play it, but I don't play it as a cover. And usually I will put that on the end of a record if I'm doing, you know, some cover songs. And I'll do it in a way that just makes sense to me. Usually the songs that are on the end of of recordings that I do, those are really just for me. There's a lot of artists that if you go to the last two songs on their CDs, they have a different quality to them, because they're usually more introspective, because they just are doing it for them. We gotta have another song for the CD. We gotta have another thing. And then they'll say, well, let's do this song. And it has a different aspect to it. Pop artists, singer-songwriters, jazz musicians across the board, it's just, you know, we've been in the studio, we're tired, we're this and that. Let's, you know, what song? We got to do another song. Got to do another two songs. Those songs have a different quality to them, and I really like them. So, sorry to take so long to say this, but if it's a cover song that means something to you, that you really love, then do it, because it'll have an aspect to it that will touch somebody, and they might not even notice that it's a cover song. It's just a beautiful song.
Now, there's something that I'd like to ask each and every one of you, and this is about difficulties, because in every career, in every production, in every creative process, there are difficulties. So composers such as yourself, Kevin, I'm sure you have difficulties. You've met difficulties. Botti, I'm sure you've had difficulties along the way. Monique, production as a producer, I'm sure you've had difficulties. Brigitte, when it comes to managing artists and music, I know that's not easy. There must have been some problems and difficulties. And Akis, I'm sure that you've also had to deal with quite a few problems and difficulties in the course of your career. So starting with you, Kevin, what advice would you give to musicians, to composers, and also to people on the other side, people like the administrators, the managers, people like Brigitte or Monique or Akis? How do you deal with difficulties, with discrimination, with the digital divide, with deficiencies? Maybe you don't have enough time, or maybe there's not enough resource or not enough budget. How have you dealt and overcome all these problems? And what is the secret of your success that you can share with other musicians, young up and coming ones, existing ones all over the world?
Well, I'd like to start by saying there is no one way of doing it, and that you will find a way if you're passionate about it. If that's something, there's one thing that I want to be a musician, but there's another thing if you have a calling to do that. There's some people that take a job, and there's some people that are just born to do that job, and you have confidence in yourself that this is a calling for me. This isn't a job for me. Playing music isn't, when you go out into the world, yeah, it's a job. You have to pay your bills and do that. But later on, you find out there's other ways of paying your bills than just playing music. You know, have different revenue streams. Use your creativity in a different way. And there's still plenty for you to be who you are, what your calling is to do. So I think the number one thing is that you have to be confident and solving problems. And remember, you are not just a musician. You're not just a one-dimensional person. You have intellect. You can do anything you want to do. You chose music, or you chose whatever profession it is. Right now we're talking about music, is that you can solve this in a creative way that's not A, B, C, and D. You might go B, D, A, C, because musicians, artists, we think spherically, not linearly. We're not just going from here straight to here. We can go around. We can go from here in there and go around, because we see things, we hear things mathematically, harmonically. We solve problems in a spherical way, in a circle, in a ball. The inside of a ball is where we're at. We're not just going from this point straight to that point. So if you love music, if you're an artist, if that's the way you think, which doesn't mean that doesn't apply to other people in other professions. You know, maybe a lot of people should have been musicians, should have been dancers, should have been artists, should have been things like that. But when people invent things, become inventors, that is not going from point A to point B in a straight line. We're not just one-dimensional beings. We all have a certain type of creativity that the society puts in this basket. Oh, that means you have to be this person, you have to be an artist, you have to be a musician, you have to be this. No, I'd rather have a president that is thinking spherically, not linearly. So you solve problems by being creative and inclusive, not coming up with an invention that creates 20 other problems because you're doing this. So in a musical sense, it's the same thing. You'll solve the problems. There are going to be problems. It's life. You're going to find things. There's going to be things in the business of it. They keep changing the laws in the business of it. But if that's your calling, if that's what you're going to do, whether you get paid for it or not, then you have what it takes to get from where it is that you need. And what you need is that music that you will more to the point, you need to express yourself through music. It's not something you're getting, it's something you're releasing that touches people.
So it's more about giving. We have a practical question here before we move to Monique, and I think Kevin, you can also address this. And this is from one of our attendees. He's saying that that they agree with you that the CD that they're working on has exactly this format. The most personal song is the last track, and the question is to the panel, and I suppose this is about difficulties also, how to deal with gatekeepers in big organizations, or I suppose big production companies, who do not seem to want to see fresh talent coming through.
You smiling, Monique?
I know.
You know, that's a whole other panel, and there's so many layers to it. And I, as a producer, have to deal with gatekeepers too within organizations. There's a reason why you don't see many people who look like me that are the leaders of our organizations across the country and across the world. So that's a whole other panel. And so I'm always advocating for our culture. And when I say our, I mean the diaspora, along with all of the other great music from the world that I love, and art and dance and theater and all of that I'm privileged to produce and present. And we're coming out of the exceptionalism phase, I think, or time in this country specifically. And that is individual exceptionalism that also spills into art and culture. So there are fewer bands that are touring now. There used to be so many bands on tour, and now there's a smaller number of bands. But with technology and social media, I spend so much time on Instagram, on pages, seriously looking at artists versus going to an agent and manager. And we still need agents and managers, so I'm not making a judgment about them. But we are in a time now where artists can get their music right to the presenter or the producer. And if there's a gatekeeper who is not responding to you, I would say keep inviting them to live shows, because oftentimes if you're in a large institution, you can get really comfortable because you are used to certain agents and managers feeding you artists. And so if it's not a genre that you're either excited about or proficient about, it's like, okay, give me 3 jazz artists, or give me 3 hip hop artists, or give me 3 modern dance artists, and they don't do the work. So it's up to the artist to find someone else in the organization. If it's not the artistic director or the executive director or the director of programming, go to the marketer and send a message to the marketing director and invite them to a show. You just have to keep knocking on multiple doors and windows in order to find someone who is going to open up their heart and open up a door to listen to your music. And then I want to connect it to the question about covers, because as I was listening to you all respond to that, one of the values of covers is we get to listen to an artist with some familiar material. So we're not quick to judge because we already love that song or we're already familiar with that song. So that's a door. And then we get to discover the artist. So I kind of retract a little bit about I love only new music and want to just offer that as well about the value of covers.
Okay, just hold that thought, Monique. I'm coming right back to you. We've got a few questions. One is to our technical team. Says, which platform on Facebook are you streaming this? I have a lot of interest, but have difficulties with Zoom. So Ernest, this goes to you. Could you please post it in the chat to let anybody who's having problems with Zoom be able to access us on Facebook? And don't worry, we are going to record this and put this on YouTube as well. It's a fantastic discussion. Stephen Boachi is thanking everybody, and Kofi Bitmenes, who just came out with a new album by a West African band called Santrofi, has also joined us and says he's enjoying every minute. Stephen Boachi, you said you want to know what the demand for African jazz music is. And I think, Monique, this is a good question for you. Very specific question. What is the demand for African jazz music?
There's always been a demand for African jazz. This country has a legacy of it, whether that is Hugh Masekela, Brahu, or Salif Keita. The opportunity now is for the younger musicians, because again, you know, going back to some of the just laziness of, and I say lazy, not with judgment, with you're overwhelmed. And so you just depend on an agent. And so then that agent is going to bring you, if they represent Salif Keita, they're going to push Salif every single year. They're going to push Youssou N'Dour. They're going to push all of the giants. And the younger artists often don't have representation. So that's a challenge. So you have to find a way, if you don't have an agent or manager representing you in a different country, because you have to remember how huge America is and how huge the United States is. I know artists that are they have one agent in France and one agent that represents Spain, or one agent that represents Europe. And here, there's artists that are so incredible and they have representation around the world, but they don't have representation in the States. So go directly to the source. I would say that now is the time to do that. Hit them up on all platforms: Facebook, social media, Twitter, Instagram. I'd say don't be shy.
Thank you, Monique. Akis, what do you think? Is there a click in the music industry, and does it extend all the way to radio?
Can you repeat the question, because I didn't get the question?
Is there a clique? One of our attendees says that there seems to be a clique, a sort of, you know, a cartel in the music industry. It's, you know, whom you know, and it's very difficult to get in, and there are gatekeepers. Does this extend to radio?
I didn't see it so many years. I'm 20, 25 years on the radio, in my country at least. I don't know about other countries, whatever. I listen rumors years before, but not in my radio, not to my show. We're independent. We choose, we play whatever we like. We don't have to give any report to anybody. I know and that years ago, when we used to have the record companies, they used to have like a cartel, because they had to do a promotion and play their records, to sell their records, whatever. So they are sending checks to the radio producers, or put something money in their pockets to play their records, so they can have sellings. I don't think that is happening now, because no record companies anymore.
Interesting.
I think
Bridget,
so.
Yeah.
how would you advise artists when it comes to problems with management? You are in that position, aren't you?
Yes, I am. Yes. How ideal I can explain is before the music has to affect me. I have to like it, and because I have to present it, I have to talk about it, I have to sell it, the music, to the venues, to the festivals. And the first of all, for me, is very important. When I listen to the music, that the music has to infect me. It's very important. And for us, we have like the community, we meet Warmex, and we go to Chess Ahead. So we have a lot of a network. And I use this network, and I know, okay, I can ask and can ask for the concert there for the artists, and very important, how you talk, how you present your artist there. It's very important, not very respectful, and sometimes the artists have not this feeling how to ask and how to sell the products. And artists sometimes think thought you have to call often, and it's not the way to go. It's like step by step, if the door opened for the artist, but it needs a long time, and you need the connections, you need the network. It's very important. And also the network between the musicians and the network between the venues and the festivals. It's yeah, it's a big community. It's very important. And like this difficulty is to have, like you talk about, I didn't have this big difficulties in my work. So it was, yeah.
Kevin, there's a philosophical question.
Like, yeah, it's yeah, I'm happy about it. It was not like okay, some when a concert does not happen like I thought, but it's not like difficult. But I didn't have many problems. Yeah, because you know, you have to work, you have to do you work very careful, and you have to think a lot what you need, and it goes really good. So I don't have these problems, difficulties. Yeah.
Kevin, I don't know if you can see our chat, but if you look at the last question in the chat, we have a question that's almost philosophical. I think you'll like this one. It doesn't actually ask why a musician, it says who is a musician. I think it's a very interesting question, because you kept talking about, you know, the music, and, you know, the management and this, that, and the other. So who, in your consideration, is a musician? Is it just anybody who likes music, plays music, composes music, strums, hums? Or does one have to be accomplished to some extent to be a musician?
I think the simple answer is anyone that can express themselves through music is a musician. And I don't think the level of it, the expertise of it, for lack of a better word, because you can listen to Chopin's etudes, and which is amazingly lovely. You can listen to Paganini Capricci, but if you want to listen to violin things, as you probably are familiar with.
I love Paganini, Tchaikovsky, Rachmaninoff. That's my thing.
Yeah, and then you can listen to Blind Lemon Jefferson. You can listen to folk songs from any country. You can listen to religious music of any religion, because people are just expressing their lives. They're expressing their beliefs through music. And words, to some extent, are probably inefficient to express most of the things that we're feeling. It's a limited way of communicating. Silence is probably one of the most valuable ways of communicating, because you don't have to listen and be and try to in your mind figure out what's happening at the same time. You're doing two things at once in most cases. But I think that anybody, and I mean anyone, that can express themselves through music, if it's a child that has a paper cup and hits it on the table, they want something. They're discovering something. So I think the musician is in all of us. The way we walk, the way we run, the way, if you keep listening to that, there's a rhythm to it that you can hear the subways coming a long way. It's music. It's not so it's not something that only a few people get to do. If you're talking about making a career out of it, a lifestyle out of it, your livelihood, all of that, it's a different level of what we call musicianship. The development of it is the next part of it, but we all share a creative aspect, and anybody that can express themselves, whether it's a rapper, whether it's a concert pianist, whether it's a somebody playing on a drum, you whistle, you speak, you know, the just a cappella singing. It's all a beautiful garden of expression through music. And I think the musician is all of us. And that might sound cheesy or whatever, but I think it's the truth. And people back away from it. But if they take that expression when they go to work, they can bring more to the table that we all, you know, a doctor, a lawyer, a cook, a chef, or whatever. If they bring that creativity and feel it inside of them, it'll bring more to everybody. It's not a profession. It's part of who you are as a human being. We're not the beginning. We're not the. We didn't invent music. The rain is music. The wind is music. The sand is music. Tree, and this is not esoteric. This isn't weird. This is really where it comes from. A lot of the things that we do are just instrumental things that sound like things in nature. I mean, we forget that we're human beings.
Kevin, the other day I was listening to Rachmaninoff's Second Piano Concerto, and it was about to rain, and the thunder pealed at just the right moment. I had goosebumps. I was like, "Oh my God, why didn't I have a recorder on somewhere? Why wasn't I on my phone? I could have recorded. It was just incredible." And Constant, coming to you, I want to tell you some truth, because Kevin mentioned truth. Now, growing up, when I was a teenager, I used to listen to a lot of Spyro Gyra, a lot of George Benson, a lot of Dave Grusin, and I never for a minute thought that there'll be just, one degree of separation between me and all these musical greats. And now, in the company of Kevin and Monique and Brigitte and Akis, thanks to you, I mean, I'm here, and I just can't believe this. And we are using technology, and it's a good thing that's come out of this otherwise bad situation. And I hope that this is something that can also help everyone in the music and entertainment industry. And I want to ask you what your thoughts in this regard are. Do you think, for example, that there was this question about whether this webinar might lead to a UNESCO recommendation? Maybe Conservices, you're the creative director. You guys conceptualize this, put this together. Thank you for giving me the honor and pleasure of trying to be your moderator. But how do you think this can be of benefit to other musicians to other producers, other managers, and other radio editors?
You mean this event, right?
Yes.
Anyway, one thing that I noticed, because, with my little experience as an African, I was lucky to visit about 80% of African countries, And when I say visit, it is interacting with the people from the country and really trying to understand how people think and how people react to events of the world. You understand? I think that how this event can benefit most people in the entertainment industry, it is to listen and understand the movement of the art, business-wise or anyway, how it is moving in the world. And by listening, they can really acquire a lot of information that can help anyone to progress. Because, I noticed that in Africa, we have huge talents. We have people very endowed with creativities and so on. But from my point of view, from what I noticed, it's like they lack the techniques to bring it to the production level. It's just like, it's like in Africa, we have natural resources. We have cocoa, we have coffee and so on, but we are still at the basic level of it. Like it's like just planting it, but how can we produce it to make it something that can benefit us and benefit the world? We are not there yet. And information exchanges like this are things that we should really consider. And if God permits, we should really multiply it, because I noticed that in Africa, you really have to hit the ear of people to really wake up and listen to this kind of events.
Okay, we have a nice question from one of our attendees, Beat Menace, Kofi. And he's asking a question about your desk, Kevin. He says, is that a NEV? And right after that, he wants to know what you think about this thing between, a cohesive and well-sequenced, conceptualized album or a single. In view of the fact that these days we stream a lot of music, which do you think is more important for artists and producers to focus on? Albums
what was the first part of that? I'm sorry. What was the first part of that?
The first part was about your tech. Is that a NEV desk?
Yes, it is.
Okay, that's
board,
yeah. That's a neat.
I don't know if you can see it here, but yeah, that's an old Neve console that I got in London. It came from. It's hard to find these now. So yeah, that is a Neve board.
Okay, so Kofi can recognize this, and he's asking what you think about a single vis-a-vis a well conceptualized, and sequenced album.
I think
considering that we stream a lot. I know if we ask if we toss this question to Monique, she'll say, "Oh, I need an album. If I'm going to put anybody on a stage, I want to look at their body of work." But what about yourself as a creative, as a producer, as a composer? How would you answer this question? It's coming from an African producer, musician.
I think it might depend on the genre of music that you're dealing with. And I think a lot of that has changed with the technology of releasing singles. Even jazz musicians are starting to release singles instead of the entire, I don't even know what you call them in America. Is it CDs? It just seems like a way of talking about it. But now you can release whatever you can. More independent companies are coming out. The artists are being more independent about it. And the fact that videos go with it, so you can have movement in it as well as the single or maybe released. It really, I don't really have a direct answer to that, because in jazz music, it's a lot different. At least it has been up to this point, which is one of the things I hope changes. But I don't think you can change things on the surface without changing the infrastructure that presents it in the first place. And I'd like to see much more movement, dance, along with the music, and I think that will change some of the things that musicians are playing. And I would love to see places that we play where people are up and moving, and it brings more energy to everything. Movement is, nothing can sit still. Movement is part of the universe. You know, things are spinning, things are orbiting, you know, you have to move. And if somehow that becomes once again a part of jazz music, or any music really, even if it's just a step, even when you see the choir in a gospel church, the steps are moving, you know. I mean, I grew up in that type of atmosphere, and I think my music would change if I had people to write music for. I don't even know what comes first, the music first, the movement comes first. Monique probably knows all about that. Is, you know, how does that help everything? But I think the genre of music, if you're on a pop record, then you have to have a single ready to go. But I'm probably not the producer type of person in that genre to answer that question sufficiently, really. And jazz, I hope all of this, I hope so many things in jazz, including the structure that presents it, changes drastically.
Monique, you mentioned.
If I know that, go ahead.
No, go on. You wanted to say something.
I was just going to expand on what Kevin said and offer that if I know the artist, if I'm familiar with their work, unless they're presenting a new project, then I don't need to hear a full album, because ideally they're always evolving. So the last album is not going to sound like the next album. So it really is trusting the vision of the artist and their body of work. If it is an emerging artist, I would say, again, this is why I spend time on Instagram, because the video, you know, you can record a video on your phone, and now artists have the technology, so you don't need a huge video director and a big budget in order to create a video to accompany your music. And what that says to me as a producer is it gives me a snapshot of what the live experience will be. I'm not on radio, so I don't have the ears, as musicians talk about, you know, having ears. I don't have the ears to listen to something to know how it's going to translate on stage. So I need to see something. I need to see some visuals that accompany it. And that doesn't mean that's my only decision, the only thing that factors into the decision, but it's a part of it.
That's a really interesting point you've touched on, because we often hear this word in the entertainment industry, and especially in the film industry. I'm sure Kevin is very familiar with the phrase of music being half the picture, but we are looking at it from another perspective now. So I'll come back to you, Kevin, with the question of whether the picture is also half of the music. But coming back to you, Monique, you mentioned something regarding radio and podcast. And I want to ask you this: do you think that streaming is the future of content development and content distribution, both audio and visual streaming?
Well, I mean, it certainly is the future. Currently, I hope that people buy more records and spend time with the record in whatever form that is. I miss liner notes and knowing about all of the musicians. You don't get that in streaming. You only get the lead musician, so you don't know who that drummer is or who took that solo. You know, you have to work harder to find that information out. So I hope that we can strike a balance. I don't know what the economics of that is. You know, it's of course more money to do the packaging and all of that, but I don't think I'm alone. And also the artwork. You know, there are albums. I know my dad looking at Cal Jader and all of those incredible musicians. There was beautiful artwork that even if we didn't understand as you know, children, it was intriguing. So it's like, well, I want to learn about this because the artwork on the album is compelling. So I hope that we can have a bit of both.
Yes, and you know, you just struck a chord with my heart. I remember in my childhood, my dad, you know, would toss me in the back of the car, myself and my kid brother, and take us to meetings with his friends because he's an architect, and we'd just sit in the back of the room and flip through the album covers because we were not allowed to play them because it would disrupt the meeting. But the covers, oh my God, I looked at so many album covers, and this brings me to you, Kevin. The picture and the sound. Now, you remember when we were putting together the flyer for this program, you had a very strong preference for a personal photograph of yourself. It looked very warm and, you know, just you, Kevin, as a person, as a human being. And I was all for a picture of you that was one of your album covers or something that, you know, really showed you with an instrument or in the music industry in some way. What advice would you give to other musicians, other artists, when it comes to how they present themselves visually, both in terms of still photographs and also in terms of video?
I think musicians are notorious for not seeing themselves the way other people see us. And if everything came about from what I think it should look like, probably not the best idea. So if somebody that's in that, they have a calling, they have a sense for visual, then if I'm okay with it, if I'm not somehow completely turned off, I really accept a lot about what a artist development person or somebody that just has a knack or that's what they do, that's their job, say, no, this one will capture the visual side of people if they see this picture. The color here is this way, this is here, that, you know, musicians, we're always stuck in our own heads. So we want to present what we're feeling, but we don't even know what people are listening to, you know, really. And so, which is really important, that you have somebody that you feel good about, you trust. And if you have to trust other people in this whole package of the industry, you know, I don't know what Bridget has to say to somebody, say, well, this band sounds like this and this sounds, and I don't know what she does, but what she does is so important for a band to get from here to there. And I don't know what steps she has to go through, what she hears in the music, what she thinks the other person is going to hear. I don't know what somebody's going to look at if they look at the cover and they come, oh, well, I like this picture, so I'm going to put this on the cover. But maybe somebody is better at that than you are, and you don't understand where they're at. So I think you have to be a part of a team, or at least people that you can feel confident about. Like if somebody's the art director and they want to do this, do you draw? Can I just see, what do you like? You know, and they show you, they might have picture artist books in their house or something. You know, just a creative person, and you come to trust someone. But one thing is for sure, you are not going to do this just by yourself. And you can learn from other people too, that it is important for somebody to pick a cover of something that for some reason that touched you more. Said, we're reaching these people, these people, these people. Maybe that picture that you would pick will be more, you know, people will see that. More people will go like, wow, what's that? It'd get their attention more. Where I'm just like sitting on a bench and I'm like, oh, that's just who I am, so let's just do that. But you say, no, this is, you're not in the audience. Other people are in the audience. So we have to understand that, you know, and I don't know, you know, what radio does. I don't know how to,
Oh,
you know.
I'm going to come to that. I'm going to come to Akis and ask him how the visual culture affects him as a radio producer, because I know for a fact, in fact, I'm willing to put some money on it, that sometimes, you know, he looks at an album cover, a music video, and says, oh, I got to play this. And I don't need to ask Brigitte, because I've been to a website, Jazz Bifango, and she's got some really interesting visuals there. And Yes, I can see you smiling. So Akis,
Yeah, it's very important, definitely.
how has visual culture affected your choices as a radio producer, if at all? No, not even a little bit.
No.
I could say no.
You've never seen a music video and thought like, wow, I've got to play this.
I never did that. I never choose music, through videos or whatever. I have to listen to the album, what they play, what they feel. But also, yeah, and Brigitte and already Monique answered a bit the question. Brigitte will confirm it, I believe. When they want to have a parallel career or some gigs or participate to some festivals or whatever, they must have a video. So I think they are asking, what do you think, Brigitte?
The live video, it's very important.
Yeah, and
live video.
They should have it.
Yeah.
So now I have a, because I always thinking about the new generation and I'm talking to them, I feel the problems, the struggle they have, they're thinking what they do, how they're gonna send their music out of their countries or to be popular or whatever. Things change and everything, as Kevin said, now is individual. They have to produce their own CD and they must have the channels, they must find the channels to send it here and there. I don't know, maybe Kevin will give us some information how they can travel their CD when they have. And that's my pain, honestly speaking, about the new generation of the musicians, how they're gonna travel their music somewhere else.
Are we going to go back to a focus on live performances? Kevin and Monique, what do you both think of this?
Are we going back to it? Is that the question?
Is it going to become even more important, live performances? Because, for example, Brigitte mentioned that she needs to see a live performance video in order to be able to book somebody. I'm sure that you would also, in a way, understand what she's saying and possibly agree with it. But going forward, do you think that live performances, maybe streaming the live performances without any kind of video tricks, is the way forward?
Sorry, I have to add that. If you, I need a live video from the musicians to show to the venues. It's very important, yeah. And also, I need a live video to decide how the people act on the stage, how it sounds, how is the dialogue, and how bring the music to the audience. It's very important for me.
And Monique, I could see you nodding.
Well, I agree that part, that important point that Bridget is making, because oftentimes artists will create an EPK, an electronic press kit. And so it's like fabulously designed, it's super glossy and great paper and colors and logo. And if they produce a video and it doesn't have the audience, you're not really getting a real representation of a live experience. On both ends of the spectrum, I've received videos from artists that oversold the live experience. And I've received videos from artists that undersold the live experience. So what I'm looking for when I see a video, I'm looking equally at the audience as I am the artist, because I want to see what is the audience experiencing. That tells me a lot more oftentimes than what the artist can say about themselves. Some artists have a wonderful aptitude of articulating who they are. And then you have artists like Kevin, and this is my first time meeting Kevin today, so I don't know him, who is very humble. He's not, I don't know him, but I know him. And he hasn't even told us, 25% of what he brings to the world. So you need someone, he needs someone, I'm sure he has people that, that sell a talk for him, but that's this balance that artists need to strike, especially for emerging artists, is, how do we get an accurate picture of what the live experience is, and that includes the audience.
Yes, and Kevin, it's really difficult to tap into your experience in such a short period and, like really get the full scope of it. Same as with, Akis and Monique and Brigitte and Constant. But we have some help from Stephen, and he's touching on movies. You've done a lot of work in the television and movie industry. The question here is, what's the best way that one could get a movie script sold? What sells a movie script? It's a very good question. I don't know if it should go directly to you, but I'd like to make it even more interesting. I want to ask if you've ever considered having a movie made out of your music, not the other way around, not being asked to make music for a movie for a script, but have a script and a movie made out of your music or some other music.
That would be a wonderful thing to do. I would be really excited to do something like that. And I love writing music to film or for movement. And I think that's one of the reasons I love watching movies so much, is all of these parts come together, the music and the dialogue, the story, all of that comes together. And it's, I would love to do something like that. I was always wanted to see the movie, The Secret Life of Plants by Stevie Wonder. That's the soundtrack to a movie. I would love to see the movie because I love the recording so much. And the things that Monique was saying that was really grabbed me when you said you can learn as much from the audience than the music. And musicians just do not think that way. We think, we just don't go that way. That's what we need, people to like say what's going on in a different aspect. And as far as getting a script,
Yes. How important is music to a script, and what do you look for in a script? I think that would be a better way to phrase this question.
I think it's more I think it has a lot more to do with the script and the visual of the script. And if it depends on the budget of the movie, I would think some of the independent ones that I've done, I did I only got as far as doing scores for HBO. And I realized.
Did you say only HBO?
HBO, and I did some other things, but it's the politics just got deeper and deeper. And I said, oh, well, went through all this in the music industry and record companies and things like that. And said, I just was doing it because I needed something to do. I just wanted to experiment and do some other things. And I really, really liked it a lot. So you can get, for people that want to practice, this is a little bit off topic. There's some music, there's some movies that have no soundtrack to them. The Birds, Alfred Hitchcock, it's a great movie to start writing music for. And there's a lot of movies that don't have score to them. Or you can video your friends. And depending on the topic that they're discussing, you can write music to that as well. So you can start from where you are, no matter what it is. If you want to write a score, start writing it now.
Hold that thought, Kevin. Hold that thought. Constant, yeah? Botti, I'm on you. You are in Africa with me here in Ghana. You and I both know that Ghanaian and African movies could really use some improvement when it comes to the music. What are you doing about it?
Can you ask the question in a different way? I can get it.
Okay. Why are you not writing music for movies, for African and Ghanaian movies? Our movies need a lot of improvement as far as the music is concerned. Have you ever been asked to write music? Have you ever offered to write music? Have you considered writing music for movies?
Anyway, personally, as an artist, whenever I am writing a song, I focus myself on telling a story. You understand? It is first of all a story that I'm telling. I really don't think of I am playing guitar and so on. I think of it in a whole that I'm telling a story. That's the first
Your
thing.
story.
It can necessarily not be my story. It is a kind of a feeling, some perceptions which indeed could not be explained by words, but they are feeling that that are going through me, like my life experience, like a snapshot of how I feel at a particular moment and how I express it through sound, through music.
Yeah, yeah. So how do you feel about the experiences of others, the stories of others, the feelings of others, and writing music for that, writing music for a movie, somebody else's movie, somebody else's story?
Yes, for instance, my first album, Guru Guru, it is, I grew up in a situation where, when I was a little kid, in my area, people were listening to some of the folk songs we have around, but I was listening at that time to rock music, to hard rock, to Iron Maiden, So it's like I was very weird for my friends. So it's like my first song, it is a blend of hard rock. Can you imagine an African kid in the early, in the early 80s, 90s, is listening to Iron Maiden and some
We don't need to
reggae.
imagine. We don't need to imagine. Constant. You're right here
So
with us.
what
We
I
can
want
see
to
on our
say is
screens.
that my first album is the reflect of all these influences during my childhood. It's like how I interact with my father, with everybody, and when I'm composing a song, it is the feeling that I'm expressing through, like musically. And sometimes I can watch some movies, and I feel that
Constant.
this music can be good. Yeah.
Constant, hold on. If a producer came to you now, a director says, "Look, I have no money, but I really like your music. Would you write the music for my movie?" What would you say to them?
First of all, I love music and I love writing things, so I will be very happy to collaborate. Most of the things I do, and let me say this thing, before I do music, at a certain time in my life, I really sat down and said, music is not necessarily where I'm going to be rich. So I focused on how to have food to eat, a place to sleep. So I use my talent to be open to every situation. So if a producer comes to me that he wants me to write songs for him, I think I will really, really be a good writer for the movie, because I read a lot, I have traveled a lot, and I'm open, so I can be a very good writer for film. You can even listen to my music and you can feel that it is a whole story. Yeah.
Monique.
I would say it's an opportunity for artists to collaborate across genres. Kevin has mentioned collaborating with the dancer. Oftentimes artists, because of all of the work that it takes to become proficient and excellent at your craft, then you're in a siloed space, whether that is with other musicians in your same genre or your same instrument. So how are you going to meet a filmmaker that's emerging at the same time that you're emerging your artistry? That's at the cafe or in some other space that supports multiple artists. You may not even meet a filmmaker. And I'm always interested in, why does the Nollywood soundtracks all sound the same? It seems like there's one composer for Nollywood. And clearly there are other artists. So that's just a provocation. And then I was really moved by the film, I'm trying to think of the hip hop artist, The Burial of Kojo is the name of the film. And I'll think of the MC in a minute, but the music is so magical and beautiful. So I would love to see more African cinema, contemporary African cinema, and that reflected with the musician, the contemporary musician as well.
Do you look forward to working with more African artists?
Always, always. In all genres. In 2018, I presented for our dance festival all contemporary African choreographers, because it was a response to what I see in the field of African dance always being presented in a traditional context. And there's so many choreographers that their work is referential to their culture, but it's modern. It's today's work. It fuses hip hop, jazz, traditional, all of that. And so I wanted to lift up those choreographers, because we've seen the big, the ballet of Congo or Senegal, or, where it's like 20 drummers and 50 dancers and still walkers. And so where are the other companies? Where are some of the other expressions? So I will continue to look at that, look for those artists. And I also want to bring back this idea of cross-cultural collaborations. And if there's an artist in Ghana that has a project and wants to collaborate with an artist here in the States or in another country, then go to your consulate. They have funding for that. They support that. Of course, every country is different, but every country wants to export their brightest and best of their culture. And that's how I'm able to get support. It's rare that I bring an artist from anywhere in the world without some support from their government.
And speaking of support, Kevin, you spoke about self-worth, you spoke about going inside, expressing oneself, and yet you're so soft-spoken. Like Monique said, almost understated. That must be a sign of strength. Gentle jazz giant. What would you say to that? And how would you advise other musicians to deal with rejection, to deal with doubt? How would you advise young up-and-coming musicians to develop a stronger sense of self-worth, a more resilient psychology?
You just have to get used to that, because that's just part of what it is. And it doesn't mean that it's over because somebody writes a bad review or somebody doesn't like your music. You get through all of that.
But let's say you've had 10 years of this. Okay, once, twice, 3, 4 years. What if you've had about a decade of difficulties and you're still not getting a breakthrough?
I think most musicians go through that. My period of that came when I moved to New York, and nothing was happening. I worked in a bakery. And
a bakery.
I worked in a bakery, yeah. And I worked in a sandwich shop where we had to make sandwiches in the front window. Apparently that was supposed to attract people to come in to watch you actually make the sandwiches. But you have to do what you have to do. And at that time I really just said, well, let's just keep practicing. So if somebody will give you a break, whether it's a small break or a big break. But the thing is to do good with what's in front of you, do the best you can with that. And so you just keep going. I was getting depressed. I didn't know that, but all I wanted to do was get, so, well, you can always be better. So instead of saying that this person doesn't know what they're listening to, or that person doesn't know this, if you do not have to lose faith in yourself, because there's systems out there that, people already have a revenue stream. They already have something that works for them. So the soundtrack sound alike because we have something that works. It's selling, it's doing good. Why do I want to change it because somebody else has different music? That's just and you have to break into that some kind of way. This is already structured. It's already very appetizing to certain people already, and they're successful with it. So why change it? And who are you to come in and say, oh, well, we want to do it this way, we want to do that way? So you have to, again, think in a creative way and find out. I love what Monique said, just go straight to the source. Just send your work to that person. Don't go through this book because that's already crowded with people. Go find where the, you know, I've seen people in Hollywood, they find out where this director, his favorite restaurant and how he gets there. And they have a script for that person. So when they show up to the restaurant, they have somebody and they want to give that to them. They figure some kind of way out, you know, but, and on the other hand, you may be doing this for 10 years and you may be working hard, but you may not be working smart. So it's a whole lot of things that will help you or hurt you in the way you handle things. Because I've been working on this so hard, I've been working on this so much, but you're not working smart. Or maybe this is not for you, but you would be great as a producer, or you would be great at something that, you know, and you stay in the industry. There's a lot of things in the industry. There's, I wish I was a singer, but I'm just don't have the personality as for a singer, but I wish I could sing. I should have stayed in the choir at my mom's church. I should have sang. I should have did all of that. And I think, you know, my personality would come out maybe a little bit better because I love vocals. I love singers and, you know, but I just can't, you know, versus, oh, you have a really sweet voice.
Monique
But,
is a singer. The way, there's something about Monique's body language just now just suggested to me that she might be a singer that's about to, you know, hit us with a breakout single. But
I wish. I'm like, Kevin, if I could sing, boy, let me tell you, it'd be something else.
Oh, wait. So by show of hands, I mean, how many of us wanted to be a singer?
All of us.
come on, Agus. Come on, you know you want to.
Come on, Constant, you wanted to sing all along.
I wanted to be a saxophonist.
I'm
Kevin.
singing a choir, a gospel choir. Me.
Wow. Kevin, so all that time you were making sandwiches, did you busk?
Did I what?
Busk. You know, busking, playing out on the subway station or at the bus stop or in the park.
No, I did not do that, but all my roommates did.
Have you ever busked?
No.
Why not?
Because
Why not?
I was afraid that if I only had one guitar, and if I dropped it and it hit cement, my guitar would be ruined. So I just thought it was bad to treat my guitar that way, that if I made a mistake and dropped it, I wouldn't have anything to play. I was really, I was making sandwiches. I didn't have another guitar.
Okay.
But you know,
I want to see you busk in Ghana, Kevin.
Yes.
You go to Ghana.
Yes. Oh yes. That would be the first for Ghana. Constant, why have I not ever
that's a great idea.
anyone busk in Ghana? Have you ever busked?
No.
Why?
I think
They don't busk in Ghana?
You know,
I've never ever seen, you know, like anybody busking. Well, with the exception of maybe at festivals, but I don't think that counts.
I thought
But
about
just
it.
on a regular day, you don't see musicians or performers performing at bus stations or outside of venues, as you see everywhere else in the world. And I want to ask you that, Constant, why is that?
I think maybe first of all it is the weather, and secondly maybe you know, Africa is very noisy. Yes, it is very hot. No, I'm coming. You know, first of all, I think it is the weather, and also, you know, the streets in Africa are very noisy. So where are you going to plug your instrument? You know, to plug your instrument and to play for people to hear what you're doing. So I think they also play in that.
Monique, it was Blitz the ambassador.
Yes.
A talented gentleman I've had the pleasure of meeting. That's
Listen
responsible for
to his Yeah, the Bird of Kojo is on Netflix now. So for anyone who hasn't seen it, I would implore you to watch the Bird of Kojo. And that soundtrack is haunting. It's really beautiful.
Akis,
Yes,
do you
I'm
like
with you.
music soundtracks to movies?
Uh, the old ones, yes.
How old?
50s, 60s. Yeah, because after that, I didn't follow a lot of soundtracks. I
But
didn't.
Zimmerman and Glass, you know, these guys are not from the 50s and the 60s.
To be honest, I'm not. I'm not spending a lot of time watching movies, etc., etc., because I have so busy schedule and so many other things to do. So I don't have an answer about that. I don't have an opinion as well. Sorry.
And
What about-
Akis, do you also do a podcast? We didn't get your answer, your response to has radio expanded to
Yeah, radio
podcasts where you are versus where in the States and in other parts of Europe?
I didn't get it, Monique, because I cannot listen to you very well. Can you repeat, please?
Are you also offering podcasts in addition to your radio program, and has podcasts expanded and giving more opportunity to have more in-depth conversations with artists?
Fortunately, not yet. I don't know, it's something they're talking about there at the station. Not yet. I think it will happen soon. That's
Kevin.
all. Only the live show we do. I don't know. Because it's a national radio, things are moving very, very slow until they decide or think about the future, and whatever takes a few years of meetings before they decide or whatever they're gonna do. If you understand what I mean. Yeah.
You have to have patience, huh?
I have a lot. Don't worry. I was proposing this jazz this channel 7 years until they decide. So I can't wait. I was waiting 7 years to decide and give me the jazz program on the radio. So I can't wait about the podcast, etc. So don't worry.
Okay. Kevin, we've been running for nearly 2 hours now. So before we run out of steam, I want to ask you this question about your current projects. What are you currently working on? And is there any room for collaborations with artists in Africa and other parts of the world?
There's definitely room for collaboration. I like to always have room for collaboration. Sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. So that would be a wonderful thing if things came up that way. I would be very open to that. And the projects that I'm dealing with now are I had a record with a pianist named Orrin Evans, duo, just guitar and piano. It's a beautiful record. And but that was all put on hold because of the events that are happening around the world and in the United States. There's ideas that I want to put together, but something kind of pushed all of that to the side in my mind, because the same reason why I'm having trouble practicing right now is because in the most respectful way possible, it almost feels irrelevant to me, because people are being killed on the street by police, and the music just cannot just keep moving on as if it didn't happen, because my music is so important and I want to do this and I want to do that. And if it doesn't have anything to do with that, then what is it that I'm doing? So that kind of just stopped me in my tracks, because I'm talking to musicians. We're doing virtual shows, or from, Blue Note, Birdland, some of the venues in New York that we all play and everything. And all we talk about is music, and like what are we doing? What are we contributing to what's going on? Do we just sit on the side and then we come back and we say, oh, we're healing people with our music, we're doing things like that, while people are up on the front lines really bringing this thing? And I just don't know what to do or how I feel about it right now, other than I don't think we're collectively doing, and maybe that's happening with people and I just don't know about it. So right now, the projects that I would like to be involved in are with talks just like we're doing, and find out what people are thinking about it. And it's not just about, I can't wait to go back and play a show. I can't wait to do some more recordings and things like that. When I feel like it's just, I wouldn't say completely irrelevant, but I feel like this is more important. Can we use our music or our intellect to help with things? Because those are the people that inspired me. So I'm kind of stuck in that right now. Music is in there. It's going to come out. We're going to write. We're going to do this, whatever. That's how we breathe. That's who we are. And at the same time, you know, this stuff is really happening to us. And to just sit back and wait till everything goes away, and then we come back and now we're playing our butts off, and something is left out. There's something we don't have that they did have. And that was the essence of artistry to me, to have them involved in the social aspects of where we're living. Jazz musicians, we don't live in the neighborhoods anymore. Back then, we lived in the neighborhoods. Everybody, the musicians knew what was going on. They had the feel of the streets. That's where we lived. But then things changed. Not putting down musicians today. Things change. And we don't have the beat of our neighborhoods. We don't understand that the way we should. I don't mean by articulating it or saying it, but we don't feel it in our body anymore. We live where we live, and then we go back and we play or something. There's something that's missing, and I think it's missing in the music. I think Akis really hit on it when he said, what's the relationship between the music now and things that are going on? It sounds great. Everybody's playing their butts off. Everybody sounds really, really great. Great musicians, absolutely. For what? How does it touch everybody? How does it elevate? If we're not a part of it, where we're in a corner playing our butts off, so I'm kind of stuck right there, which I'm glad to be stuck there, because it will resolve, and I'll learn something from it, I hope. All of this has to happen. People have to rethink things and regroup, and you have to pick a side, even if you're picking your own side, but you have to do something. Right now, we're waiting for the clubs to open up so we can go back and play again. It has to be more to it than that.
You've done a lot of philanthropy work, and from what you're saying now, are we going to get a lot more political expression from you? Maybe.
I think at this point, it's impossible not to. And if you don't, and I wouldn't say necessarily under the guise of politics, but you have to stand for something. We got people being hanged. You just don't sit around and say, I'm just writing some music for something that has nothing to do with this. To walk on the streets in a certain way at a certain time is political. So it's not just that simple anymore. You are forced to be political just to answer a question honestly, because that's just the way it is. And to just go out and say, oh man, you sound great. You sound great. Yeah, you're a great musician. You sound good. At the end of the day, so what? So where are we as musicians? Are we just musicians? Am I just a guitar player? So not who are the musicians, what are the musicians is a better question.
Would you agree, Monique?
I would agree that there is a tremendous shift happening, not just in the United States, but across the world. just as the civil rights movement empowered other movements across the world, what the movement that's happening now is inspiring folks. I mean, the toppling of the statue of Colson in Bristol, UK is, you know, that statue, which was erected in the mid 1800s. You know, I have friends that grew up in that community who has shared with me their grandmother and grandfathers would say, you know, one day we're going to get rid of that statue, never really believing that they had the power to do that. And fueled by the fury of what's happening now, those young people in that community toppled that statue. So I feel there's a ripple effect happening, and I'm hopeful that we will see it reflected in the art and the artists. But I thought that was an excellent point that you made that I hadn't really thought about, Kevin, in how artists are removed from the community now. And that ties back to that exceptionalism. If you're able to go to a conservatory, you already have a level of privilege. And so then when you come out and you have a certain means, you know, you want to provide a space for your family that has all the things that America says is success. And that oftentimes removes you from the community and removes you from being on the ground. So it's an interesting time. I'm inspired. I'm always inspired, and I trust that the artists are going to dig deep in their hearts and their arsenal of melodies and harmonies and creativity, and you know, and we will be participants in it, because we also can't sit back to wait for the artists to inspire us. We have to provide the funding and the platforms and all the spaces. So we're in this together. We're in this together.
Well, we've got a few more questions. Let's just quickly run through them. And one's already making me feel jealous. It's to Kevin and asking if you remember your Calcutta tour. Calcutta,
yes,
and no Ghana tour. I don't remember Kevin Eubanks Ghana tour. I don't know why.
No, but and let me preface that by saying I hope that happens. I really would love to.
I hope so too. I really hope so too. And Bridget, there are a couple of questions for you. When do you expect the festivals in Europe to resume? That's one. It's a pretty good one. How important is press for a band, or I suppose for a performer? Does one need a ton of press reviews as far as you are concerned? And what are your expectations as far as the music industry goes? As a talent agent, what can you bring to promote the artist once the pandemic is over?
When the pandemic is over, I don't know. Press, yeah. Press for me is very important. I also work with a lot of journalists and with journals, and it's very important to get it from the journalists and from the journals. It's very important, and even to have a radio interview or TV interview, it's very important. Yeah. The other question was?
The other question was, when do you think the festival circuit would resume? When will performances start? When will festivals resume again?
In Austria, it starts already in August, and we have to sit, not to stand, not to dance, only to listen, and open air. And in August, it will be up to, I think, 500 persons can attend in Austria. Outside, and other countries is different, and but I really don't know. It's different countries have different decisions, so it's not the same, but it's in Austria. And thinking about a big festival in October, it does not happen like before. So the organizer maybe will change it with different places and different artists, not a lot of artists, less artists because they don't have this money like before, and bring artists together with other local artists together. It is the next idea to do. And what will happen in 2021, we don't know. A lot of festivals postponed to 2020 now, 2021, and the promo on the venues telling us we don't have the money like before, and maybe we have to change it. Maybe we have to less concerts, and the ticket price will also less than before. And the budget will also less than before, so a lot will be changed for the next year. And even the people are very careful, but they already talk about the second wave of Corona now. So nobody wants to organize something and say, okay, we can do it, because you have to do a lot for the security and sanitary, a lot. And if you don't respect everything, and you have to write all the address and the names of the people who come, and maybe it starts a Corona in your venue place, so the organizer is responsible for this. So people are very careful now. Absolutely.
Okay, well, I think we need to start wrapping up. So this.
What I want to say is, what we need is a global solidarity. Absolutely.
Oh, absolutely, totally.
Yes, totally.
So Monique, your thoughts on this? Your thoughts on this, and anything you'd like to add?
I have a question for Bridget. Are you thinking, is the government thinking or weighing in different countries' approach to the COVID-19 and how they will or will not invite artists to come in? As an example, Sweden decided to go with the herd, where they did not shut down their economy all the way, and they're
heavy price.
Thinking of it is that it would let everybody get it. And so when you're thinking about inviting non-Austrian artists, are you also thinking about what country they come from and how they dealt with the COVID-19 virus?
Of course. Yeah, I have to think about it and have to know how about the regulation of the different countries. And in this, I thought it's better to deal together, because every country has its own opportunity or its own act. So I don't know what's about this country, and this is better to deal together, to global, to bring all together, a solidarity together.
Absolutely.
And my last question, Bridget, is, are you planning to attend WOMAX? Because a lot of my colleagues here in the States they are not going.
I was thinking at first to go. Then I heard a conversation with the head of the WOMAX, and I didn't have the feeling that I'm secure in this country. I didn't know how he deal. So because if we go to the festivals here, we have to sit, we cannot stand, and we cannot dance. How we can listen to a concert and we cannot dance, we have to sit, and how they want to separate the people 1 meter, 1.5 meter, nothing to talk about, nothing. So I don't know if we come from all over the world and we don't know how the COVID is there. I don't know. And the second part is, for me, it's Hungary, and I don't like the government there. I don't accept it. He don't like the world music. He don't like the refugees, and it is for me 1 point to say no to go there. It means also for me solidarity to say, okay, people, we don't go to this state, to Hungary.
Mm-hmm.
But it's, it's a business, and it's a market, and it's a lot of money behind.
Yeah, lots of lovely jazz festivals in Austria, in Vienna.
Yes,
I know that the Vienna Jazz Fest,
yes.
Saalfelden. Speaking
Yes,
of jazz, Akis,
Saalfeldens take place. They do it.
speaking of jazz, Akis, where can we listen to your jazz program online?
Online.
Online, yeah, online.
I will
Because
send you. I will send
everybody, you know, had a URL. You know, it's not difficult to find Harlem Stage.
for sure,
Jazz
for sure.
Tango has got a beautiful website.
I will send
Online.
everybody the link. So it will be a pleasure and honor if you will listen my program, the radio program I have. Of course, the speaking is in Greek, but anyway, the music you're gonna enjoy it for sure because I play different categories, different ages. I try to give to be to make everybody happy, different ages, also a little bit of new music so the new audiences to be familiar with jazz and come to the come to jazz, which I served the last 35, 40 years. And I will
Wow.
continue doing that.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
but new things are coming, and something I wanted to, what I feel, what Kevin said, that this music comes from, especially, comes from social problems. All the inspiration was from that, I believe. And I believe that new music will come because I feel that these problems we are facing with the COVID made us rethink again about many things, the immigration, the racism, and all the other things. I believe that we're gonna have beautiful lyrics soon and beautiful music soon. Music that has a reason uh, to make, not just to do it, to have a reason to do it. That's what I believe.
Yeah, I want to add all of my artists had the time and used the time of the crisis to produce their own solo album or new music. So they were very, very creative. So I think if we have the chance to travel with this music, so it will great.
Excellent.
Well, I'm sure we're all tired now. So, Kevin, final question to you, and then Botti, who invited us all, and who is the creative director of Mevicon Services that put this together, can take us out. Kevin, how important is an academical background to you and to artists in general? For example, did your teaching stint at Berkeley give you any advantage or any of your other educational experiences in terms of success as a musician?
I think so. On the other hand, a lot of things are I think a lot of musicians, and I think this is important, that you have to be self-taught as well. You can't go to a school and learn music. You can learn some aspects of music, but being self-taught is the main ingredient of music. Otherwise, you have no personality. You have nothing really. You just have what you got out of a book somewhere, and anybody can get that. But being self-taught, if not 100% self-taught, which doesn't mean you don't learn from other musicians, you don't learn from other things. You know, there's schools everywhere, and the academic schools are one thing, but being on the road with Sam Rivers for 2 years, being on the road with Roy Haynes for 2 years, each person that has that type of musicality, that, you know, they're a school within themselves. Everybody has played with Art Blakey and the Jazz Messengers. We, you know, hanging with Art Blakey. And one of the things that also is beautiful is that in a group where I started at 19 or 20 years old, and the person that is the leader of the group is 70 years old, I get to learn a lot of things that's not just necessarily about music, but in maturity, when you get to have conversations on a flight with somebody and they tell you about what it was like playing with Dizzy Gillespie or what it was like doing this or that, all of these things get into you. You won't find that at a school, but you need that kind of thing. If so I think it helps, but maybe not necessarily so. You can use it to help, but there's other ways of, having your career. And I don't think it totally is based on the fact whether you went to a university to learn some of the aspects of it.
It's been a wonderful, wonderful conversation. I think our creative director and gentleman who together with Vicky Mills put this all together. Mebicon Services, all the tech is courtesy of the Ghana Culture Forum, in particular the Ghana Publishers Association, whose offices I'm in with Mr. Ernest Opong, who's been our IT backbone and supported us in every possible way. Thank you very much, Ernest. And thank you very much, Akis, a very experienced producer and editor at Cyprus Broadcasting Corporation, special jazz show that he's going to share a link to with all of us.
Sure.
Monique Martin, it's been fantastic making your acquaintance and having you in this amazing conversation. Hope one of these days we might meet in person. Love to see your next show at the Harlem stage. Please post links to anything that you do. Bridget, I thoroughly enjoyed meeting you too. I love your website, Jazz Be Fango. Kevin, it's been incredible. Thank you very much for sharing your time, your thoughts, your talent with us and with everybody else that's going to see this later on online, on Facebook, on YouTube. Lots of thanks to all our collaborators. Once again, Musica, UNESCO. Of course, we couldn't have done it without Mebicon, so I think I'll give Botti the honors of being the voice of African artists to wrap this up.
Oh, thank you so much. I would like to thank very much KEVIN EUBANKS, Monique, Akis, Brigitte, and everyone, and you. But I would like to say something, with all these things, pandemics and all the problems going on in the world, you see many big artists or people in the industry, they just write on their social media that they are sorry for what is going on, they feel it and so on. But I think what KEVIN EUBANKS, Monique, and Akis, Brigitte are doing now, this is what we expect from people. It is not just about writing, but about inspiring human beings to be better. And I really like people that are not just hiding behind their talents, but they are using, it's like they are using their personality to really inspire people in the world. And right now, as we are on this event, I received a message from many artists telling me that this video will be like their book for a long period, because they will be learning a lot. And I am very happy. And I thank everyone for taking their time to be here. I also thank Mr. Carl Ampa from UNESCO, who has been communicating with me, and is really
Carlos
happy about
some very interesting links, and I think these links are really good material for another conversation. Oh, by the way, can we do this again? Can we do this again by show of hands? Yes, Kevin, I see you're nodding, but
absolutely,
absolutely. Okay, because UNESCO have sent some really interesting links, and they came in like a little late. I just noted them, but one is about creativity monitoring, reporting, and thematic monitoring on the status of artists, and the other one is about defending freedom and creativity for artists. And I think that's a really important conversation for us to have at another date. And I'm sure Mebicon would put it together, just like they put this one together. Thank you very much, Constant.
Yes,
And
UNESCO
also-
has been supporting
Yes.
everything that we have been doing. And I think we are discussing a lot about many things. And I wish that something will happen.
Okay.
Crossing fingers, yeah.
Maybe the next time we speak, we can focus on African artists in particular and how to promote up and coming artists and build collaborations across jurisdictions and across networks and across management teams and across venues. And that should be a really conversation as well.
Can I say something
Sure.
for this? I'm working with artists from Denmark, and they produced the album in Burkina Faso with Patrick Capré. And the Cudimancos played a live video on Denmark, and the donation they gave it to Patrick Capré to Burkina Faso to create his own association, to work with people, to work with children. So it's very important.
Yes, I love that. I love that. I love philanthropy. I support oafrica.org. We work with orphan and vulnerable children.
Yeah.
And so I'm always up for anything that's, that helps vulnerable and marginalized and otherwise oppressed and underprivileged people anywhere on the planet, especially, of course, in Africa and in my home of Ghana. So I want to thank you all once again for coming. We have to collaborate on that jazz tune. So you see what Kevin said. We were right on track there. Akis, really look forward to your next jazz program. Thank you very much, Monique. We look forward to following you online as well. Bridget, it's been amazing meeting you. Kevin, once again, my respect. Constant, are you gonna sing us a song or play us something? I mean, just like, I don't know.
My head is heavy now.
Okay.
Will this be on Facebook later today?
Yes, this will be on Facebook. We're streaming live to Facebook.
Yes,
actually.
yes.
And
it is already shared everywhere.
Yes.
And
yes. I hope everybody can appreciate the lovely Ghana branding. So that's our flag, and that's our kente on a strip. It says Ghana. I worked very hard with Ernest to decorate our little set.
Because of Kevin, I wear this so that he can come here to wear also what we have.
Yes, Kevin must come. Maybe
looking forward to it, man. Looking forward to
it.
I'm sure Vicky and Constant at Mevicon can put something together with Stanbic Bank because they sponsor a jazz festival every year. It'll be absolutely
wonderful. Say everything. Don't say everything. we are weak.
I'm waiting for your aquaba.
Yes.
And of course, you're all welcome.
I wait for your aquaba because I've been to Cote d'Ivoire twice. In fact, I was there this year. For the Massa Festival.
Monique, we need you here. Look, the way Kevin is smiling, I know he's bringing you.
Yeah.
Kevin is bringing you with him.
I'm gonna come with Kevin, and he's gonna busk on the street for his meal.
Yes.
I think I would do that. I think I would do that.
It's
about time.
That's a photograph I'll pay some serious money to shoot for charity. I'll pay to do that for charity, for philanthropy. All right.
Thank you so much for
having all of you. Thank you very much for coming and for sharing your amazing knowledge, your talent, your feelings, your hearts, your thoughts, and for saying that you want to do this again. It's been quite a while. We were scheduled to start at 7 and run for 90 minutes. It's now 10 p.m. Ghana musical time, GMT.
Yes.
And so I think we'll be running for about 2.5 hours because we had a few technical glitches. All my fault. It's always the fault of the moderator. So
yes,
I accept it, and I hope you accept my apologies, and I hope you've enjoyed this and gotten something valuable out of it. And once again, I hope we can all do this again sometime soon. Thank you very much.
What a pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Pleasure to meet everyone.
Bye.
Yeah.
Yes.
Indeed.
Bye.
Take care. Thank you.
Thank you, Constant.
Yeah. Thank you.